All right, everyone, welcome to Plumber Talk. Today we have Phil DePaul with us, who is the owner of a few different businesses, trades businesses, but right now we're talking about his business, One Tom Plumber. He's a franchisee. Phil, thanks for being on.
My pleasure, Benjamin. Looking forward to having a fun conversation.
Yeah, me too, man. So tell me about One Tom Plumber. How did you get into One Tom, and why did you pick One Tom?
Yeah, so Rocky and Cameron are going to like this. It was about 2023, and here I am. I'm a restoration business operator, a franchisee of another brand called United Water Restoration Group, which I'm in for about, at this point, 4 years at the time. And I had just delved into a construction company and acquired a junk removal business, and I started sort of expanding into different trades and chasing other butterflies as an entrepreneur. And I come across this podcast where I see this father and son duo probably wearing pink shirts talking about this plumbing franchise that they're launching and how it's made to partner and bolt on to your restoration business. And I'm listening to these guys. I'm like, they stole my freaking idea, and I'm just listening. I'm tuning in. I'm like, huh, okay, interesting. Let me go do my homework. And then I'm like, let me get on a call with these people and see what they're selling. Then I'm like, let me get on a plane and go out to their facility and see what they're doing. And before long, I'm drinking the pink Kool-Aid, and I am buying into the philosophy of the pink plunger and marrying up this business with my restoration business. And all that, from the first time I ever heard about this brand to signing on the dotted line, was probably 3 months or less.
Wow,
From there,
fast sales
it was
process.
less than 3 months until we opened our doors. So this was
Wow.
in my fast and furious sort of bulking mode as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, yeah.
I jumped straight in. I don't think the pool was empty, but it definitely didn't have a lot of water in it. Just dive right in. The brand concept really caught me. I love the idea, and I'm sure we'll unpack this a little bit. But when we're trying to solve the world's problems and create the next mousetrap, we start to spread ourselves too thin. So, the timing for me may not have been perfect or ideal, but I definitely was, I guess you could say, swimming in the right pool. And that's how I got into the brand.
Yeah. Well, timing is always it's always a matter of perception of it being perfect, whether it's not perfect or perfect. Because sometimes it's very not the right timing, but because you made the decision in the wrong timing, it was actually the right time to make the decision.
Yep. There's no time like the present. So,
Yeah.
I've trained myself to be action oriented because historically I've got stuck in my own head. So that was action.
Yeah.
That was action mode. And here we are. Now I'm almost 2 years in the business, and One Tom Plumber is designed to be a 24/7 emergency service plumbing and drain cleaning company. So again, that's
Mostly
why
all residential.
it's not actually, it's residential and commercial, but the franchise leads and leans towards being a resource for commercial property owners, managers, business owners, could be multifamily or multi-unit rentals, whatever, because we just think that we're always on call, we're always on demand. So why wouldn't somebody like a facility manager or a super want us on speed dial? Because we're always open. We literally always have a live local dispatcher standing by, answering the phones, and at least one technician ready to roll. So with that business model, we feel like, yes, we do come in handy for residential clients. In fact, our business in Long Island is probably, I don't know, 70% of our business compared to the commercial piece, where in a lot of other markets, it's the inverse. They're heavy commercial and less residential. Each one you could say has pros and cons, challenges and opportunities, but we are having fun building out our reputation in the residential space in Long Island. And New Yorkers are funny. We are interesting creatures. The way that we buy, the way that we interact, the way that everybody knows somebody, everybody's got a guy. Every other person's either a realtor or a contractor or both.
Yeah, yeah, yep.
So we just try to stand out, as you can tell by our color scheme and our attitude and our pink plungers and our personality. It's the thing that we want to know that there's for the right client, we are the right plumber and plumbing solution for them.
Yeah. Yeah. So how many technicians, how many employees do you guys have in One Tom Plumber?
Yeah, so in Long Island, we currently have 5 vans on the road every day with a sixth one on the way. And I think we have a roster of 7 technicians, a couple of guys who are in training or new hires, as well as a full-time dispatcher, an office manager, operations manager, who's our master plumber, who's also my father. So we got the
Cool.
dynamic. My mom helps out in the business. And I have a field marketer, who's our brand ambassador, helping us spread the word. That kind of summarizes the bulk of our team right now.
So a lot of these guys you have, do they also work in your other franchises?
So I do have some
Or
crossover. Everybody that I just rattled off focused on One Tom Plumber. I do have some folks that support me, whether it's the digital marketing side, HR, people operations. I'm big on culture, big on values, and big on building a tribe. So the biggest commonality between and across my businesses is who, literally who, period. It's just who's on our team, who's aligned with the things that we value, who wants more of them. My leadership style is unique, it's intentional, and it's intense. So I know that I'm not the right guy for everybody, and I'm okay with that. So yeah, we do have some shared resources, but it is important to have dedicated resources as well. So it's not like we got the guy who's a plumber at 10 a.m. and then he's a mold remediation technician at 12 and then he's
Yeah, yeah.
injury at 4.
Yeah, I was thinking more of like admin employees, like I wonder if you've been thought about this question before or haven't asked it. How come you don't own a marketing agency yet?
I just had a coffee date this morning talking about what that would look like.
And then next you got to go accounting. You got to get an accounting firm. Like, yeah,
I
you're
know
gonna have to
this.
you're gonna have to do it all.
So they're butterflies. They're all the shiny objects. We could do
Yeah.
this, should do that. It's like, all right, you got to know your timing and your risk tolerance.
Yeah, no, I
I,
got you.
I lost track of my risk tolerance for a while there, as I'm sure many entrepreneurs do, and had too many chips on the table at the casino. I think that the biggest lessons I've learned over the last year or two is focus your energy, your time, be a student of your calendar because it's so easy to get spread too thin. And if you think that you're special as a leader, as a business owner, a founder, franchisee, or whatever, as the difference maker in your business, well, then guess what? If you're pouring your bucket is 100% and you're pouring into 20 different cups. Each cup only gets a little bit. So the fewer cups that you pour into, the fewer places that you put your energy, the higher the impact. Then you can really gain some momentum. Again, I'm learning lessons every single day on what to do, what not to do, but definitely taking action, right? Like we said.
Yeah, yeah. So that being said, when you talked about the cups, which is a great analogy, what does a typical day look like for you as the CEO of all these companies? Are you rotating days between companies, or do you have certain hours during the day for each company?
Yeah, it's a great question. And what it looks like today is not what it's going to look like next month. It's not what it looked like a few months ago. It's definitely not what it looked like last year. I mean, there was a point last year where, yeah, I literally just, sometimes I would put on an actual hat because I'd be like, all right, what hat am I wearing today? Literally, who am I? So it's very
Yeah.
easy to get into an identity crisis if you're trying to be like the face of 4 or 5 different brands at the same time. And then it's very easy to lose yourself. You're like, who am I? I don't know who I'm supposed to be. How am I supposed to look at this situation or opportunity? I don't know even how to make decisions anymore because I was so confused. So I've got myself out of the quicksand. In fact, I shed the construction company, which was one business that just didn't move the needle in a meaningful way, and it put me in the red. I had acquired a junk removal business about 3 years ago that I'm in the process. I've shut down operations. I'm in the process of selling off because it was fine. But fine, again, I wasn't changing the world. I wasn't doing anything great for me, myself, my family, my community by just having another average business because I wasn't putting a lot into it. So I might have had a day or half a day that was junk removal, same thing that was construction, and they would all eat into each my resources for putting less, especially into this brand, right? Because we're going to zoom in on One Tom Plumber a little bit. So when this business was starting up, I was an absentee in 2023. Like I might have been there in body, but I wasn't there in mind for that much. It didn't get a
And
lot of
that's
my
hard
heart
for
and soul.
employees. That's
Well,
really hard for people who are trying to manage. There's like, hey, like the guy I'm reporting to is like not even there.
and I abdicated my responsibility as the captain of the ship. I tried to put other managers and people in charge, and ultimately they weren't as vested, they weren't as clear, they weren't as aligned, and their style wasn't my style. So again, lessons that you learn. So then by 2024 is like, all right, let's clean up the act, and I started to get more clear. Where I may have been doing 1.5 days in restoration every week. Now, if you look at my schedule today, what's today? Today's Thursday, but Tuesday I usually put on my United Water Restoration hat, and I don't have to wear it exclusively, but that is where I am. I'm still accessible to my team on demand if they need coaching, if they need a fire put out, if they need me to jump in. I like getting tagged in to kind of teach lessons and lead conversations, especially not being like, I have all the answers. It's more like, all right, here's how I see it. Here's how we should do the thing, or do an autopsy on a person and dive deep. Where what I like to do is just get everybody's mind open so they think like an owner. You familiar with Jocko Willink and Leif
Oh
Bad?
yeah.
extreme
Hmm.
ownership. So I love accountability. I love living accountability. I love talking and preaching accountability. And I love extreme ownership because to me, it's like a heavy dose. I call it accountability squared. It's the idea that, yeah, don't just be accountable, like own it. And I think a lot of people struggle with owning their position or their opportunity. You're like, but you're the owner. Like, yeah, owning a business, like having a share in the company, owning the stock is not the same thing. I mean, I worked for a plumbing wholesale supply company for 14 years. Like, by hell, I took ownership over my role, over my opportunity, and I didn't impose a ceiling on my head or a box around me until the environment put me in a box and I just ran out of room to run. But I wasn't going to be self-limiting, and that's what I try to encourage in my team and my people. So when I do my thing and when I'm at my best, that's who I am. I'm the coach, the motivator, the mentor, the mover of people. And right now, I give United on average 1 day a week to focus on restoration, and I give them what they need when they need it. Otherwise, at least 3 days a week, I am wearing my pink hat and focused on building One Tom Plumber, leading meetings, having my one-on-ones, and just trying to have my impact felt, which is I'm still working on it. I'm still not as consistently dialed into the day-to-day. And then I try to use the other space for me to build what I will refer to as my personal brand, which is BoomZeal. And that is something that kind of went through an identity crisis as I leaned hard into the trades and had this portfolio of home improvement companies that I tried to link together with this theme. And I used this personal brand, and I brought it from the shadows into reality, and I made it an umbrella brand. But then I lost my way. It was out of it was not aligned with what I wanted to be. So I kind of pulled it back. I simplified my life. I said, yes, I'm the owner of two different businesses, two different brick and mortar service businesses. BoomZeal is not even, it's not clear on what it exists to do in terms of an industry, like a product or service. I'm just like, make it my brand. Like, let it be the personification of me as a outside of myself, outside of my body, and let it touch, impact, and have an effect on the companies that I lead or that I operate. And then ultimately, kind of like you said, you're like a marketing company, accounting firm, a roofing company, HVAC company, whatever the hell it is, right? Let them all sort of run on BoomZeal, whatever the hell that is, right?
Gotcha. Okay. Oh, that's really cool. I think that's a good way to manage your time. I really do, because managing time is something that's really difficult for people. It really is just they do things to fill their time rather than doing things to be productive.
Yeah.
And that's why the working for time is really, really hard to measure how effective you are, because you're not working to get things done. You're working for a certain amount of time. So that's why I think when I'm gonna put like my attention into a day of things, like, okay, well, I have something I need to work today, right? I don't do like, all right, I'm gonna work until this time at this business. It's like I'm gonna get all this stuff done, and if I can get this stuff done before noon, then I can do something else. And that's where effectiveness
Prioritization,
comes.
right?
That's how you got to be with these businesses. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to, because what I've and I this is a work in progress. Lord, I don't have all the answers, but when it comes to focusing on starting something and like finishing it, and not finishing it like it's done, because I am a perfectionist at heart. It's like just iterating it. So if you're gonna work on something, then don't work on it halfway. Work on it to a point that it gets to the next version of itself. If it's a process, if it's it could be coaching. Look, think about coaching another team member. Like, you're never done. You're like this day or this week's version of building up Phil, building up Ben. The
Yeah.
idea is, so think of working on your marketing campaign or working on your SOP as just the next bad version. Make the next version better. Going from 0 to 1 is usually the hardest part. You're like, oh, we don't have a process for this. Man, that's where like AI is an amazing tool, right? Take something from your head, throw it up into a generative AI like a chat GPT, and shit, it gives you something back that you're like, oh, great, this is a bad version of a playbook, like a bad version of the next presentation I'm going to give. But now I got something to red pen. And
Yeah. Yeah.
amazing. So you talk about time, right? Logging hours, like we're doing the work to what end? Like toward what end? Ultimately, why? And if you just keep going why, there's the concept of like the five whys. You're like, yeah, I have a plumbing company. Okay, well, why? Well, because blah, blah, blah. What, why? Why? Get to the core of what we're doing, why we're doing it, what motivates us, what's our reason for existence. So I'm definitely an existential, philosophical kind of individual, and I really try to understand what motivates me, what makes me do the things that I do, the silly things, the eccentric things, the good things, the ugly, messy train wreck things. And all we could try to do is be better at playing the game of life tomorrow. I like to play the game of business because it helps me understand the game of life, and using our time and figuring out, why we're doing what we're doing professionally. Tie it back to yourself personally. Tie it back to maybe, what your legacy, why you think you're here, on this earth, and just make it mean something. And it should never mean the same thing to two people, but um, that's that's the introspective version of me that I think comes out in what I do, how I do it, and ultimately why I do it.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's really important to help people you work with get down to their why, because it,
I
it
love
is it is the reason that motivates them to be able to do good work for you, right? So
that.
like I talked to you before we hopped on the recording of what I do with technicians, and I sit down with them and I'll break down their why. Like, okay, well, how much money do you want to make? Okay, well, I want to make 100 grand. Why? Okay, so I can buy a house. Why?
Yeah.
So I can feel like I did something. Why? Because I had a hard childhood, okay, or whatever it is, right? It's like you got to get down to the why
Mhm.
to be able to fix it, because that's what motivates them.
The
So no, I
fire.
love
There's
that,
got to
man.
be that fire in your belly. And
Got to
it's like, if
create
I
it.
don't know what lights that fire for you, then I don't know how to stoke it. So
Yep.
I talk about cutting people open. Are you
Yeah,
familiar
yeah, I
with
love that.
GOS?
I
You
love
familiar
that.
with Gino Wickman and the entrepreneurial operating system, the book Traction?
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, no
Okay.
traction. Yeah, read
So
that.
I have really taken to heart the concept of the scare 'em away speech when you're interviewing and recruiting. And anybody who's ever applied for a plumber position, our company especially, I really want to get inside you. I want to open you up. I want to see what makes you tick. I want to see why you want to do this. And, maybe we'll get into what a typical plumber looks like versus, what in our system, what a Tom looks like, because it's very much aligned with your philosophy and what you're teaching out there, because there's just so much opportunity to blend technical skills and soft skills in a field like, or a trade like plumbing and plumbing service, that creates so much more value for the consumer, which creates value for the plumber, which creates value for the company, which again, it kind of makes the world go round. You try to find that win-win-win. And there are certain innate, whether it's abilities or, as I like to say, values, your core values, who you are, what motivates you, what gets you up in the morning. You want to try to find those out, because those are the things you can work with more than, do you know how to work on an oil burner? Have you ever unclogged a drain? It's like, well, if not, do you have a general mechanical aptitude and common sense and work ethic? Well, great. Well, we can work with you. Like, can you
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
smile while your hands are full of feces?
Yeah, yeah,
Fantastic.
yeah.
That's a start.
Yeah. You can't train attitude, but you can train technical skills so easily. But attitude and effort, that's the kind of stuff that you just
Yeah.
can't change.
No, you want to look inside the individual, see if they got that, see if they got the right stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what we do when we were trying to bring on techs when I owned a company. We would purposely look for people who didn't know plumbing, because they were so much easier to teach plumbing than people who already knew plumbing to try to teach attitude and relationship building. If we could find a guy that was already sharp, already knew how to build relationships, already could communicate, could talk, had common sense, could do stuff with his hands, those are the people we try to find.
For sure.
So I'm sure you're doing the same thing.
Same, and what I say about the first year in a business, in the first year in a business, you typically hire for technical skill, because you're like, we just got to do the thing. And then you bring those kind of people in, and then you're like, they're solving one problem, but they're like creating two for every they solve.
Yeah.
In culture, and it's not even a them problem, right? Ultimately, what I always say is the fish stinks from the head down. Like, I brought you onto my team to be this, and I did it out of maybe a need, or a perceived weakness. Like, well, we need
Yeah.
technicians. And then you solve one problem and you create a different one. And over time in business, you just kind of keep leveling up your problems. Like, you solve one problem, you create another. And the idea is, at least you don't want to be stuck in neutral, not like the hamster wheel. As long as the levels are going up, and in the beginning we're like, oh, I need the person who does the thing, because I did the same thing in restoration. I didn't know how to do restoration, but I was the first technician in my business. So ultimately I wanted to hire someone who I could be like their helper. Oh, good. You're better at the technical work than I am. Well, good. I'm going to tag out. I'm going to step back and I'm going to let you shine. And that's,
Yeah.
team building is, the right people in the right seats.
Yeah, I love it. So what are some things that at one time specifically that you guys are struggling with right now? If there was a problem you could just get rid of, what would it be?
Rid of a problem. I would have those people that we were talking about, the ones who have the soft skills, the charisma, aligned values, right attitude, the things that you can't teach, and a general sense of how to work with their hands. I'd have them wrapped around the building, wanting to get on our team. So it would be just give me 100 options of people who are all eager to go, because what I found is that there's a lot of demand for our services. So the
So you guys
biggest
have lots of calls coming in.
we do. And listen, I'm not saying that we're busy, right? And I just perceive that I could increase, let's say, marketing budget and more calls will come in. I will be able to roll more trucks. So right now it's just more of those,
Finding guys and
yeah,
training them to be
the
good.
ideal mindset, right? The ideal approach. And honestly, we're getting better and better at it. I see that the bait that we're putting in the water is attracting more of the right fish, but there's never as many as you want. You want to have 100 good options.
Yeah.
And we're finding them, but slow and steady. And that's the key, because I say that our plumbers are like, they're like the Big Mac of McDonald's. One Tom Plumber, the plumber is the consumable product. It's the biggest attraction. Or maybe some people aren't burger people. Maybe it's the fries, right? Everyone loves the fries at McDonald's. Whatever it
Yeah,
is,
yeah, yeah.
the feature item, the thing you can count on, and consistency of product. And every plumber is expected to bring themselves and their personality and their own unique style to how they play the role. But man, oh man, have a process. Show up to the door with a smile on, the pink plunger, your truck ain't parked on the lawn, your ass crack ain't hanging out, you're looking the part, your shirt's tucked in, don't smell like an ashtray. And then curate an experience for the client beyond what they expect, not just the wrench toting, cursing, swearing, kick the dog mentality. In fact, we have a saying called pet the dog. Pet the dog means break the ice, build rapport, not just with their animals, but with the humans. And make it real, make it a human experience that helps solve the symptoms that their plumbing woes are causing. And that's what our best technicians do best.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all just about relationship building. Taking the time to really build the trust with the customer. Do you know who Dan Locke is?
I can't say I've heard
He's
that.
this Chinese guy. He's an old sales trainer. He doesn't create much content now, but like 4 or 5 years ago, he was really big. He was like competing with Grant Cardone on like sales training stuff.
Really?
But anyways, I remember when I was first getting started into it, I watched one of his videos and he said it like this, and it hit me so simply that if you can just give a damn about your customers. And I was like that phrase really hit it for me. It was like, just care. Like, actually decide to care. You can fake caring. You can walk into someone's house, fake get to know them, fake ask them questions, just so you can get a sale, right? But if you can actually choose to care about them, then it's like you come into someone's house and you're gonna treat them like you would your grandma. Like people would ask me all the time, "Would you sell this to your grandma?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, I would, 100%." And it's when you can build that level of trust, when you can just choose to want to care about your customers, that is when you will become a good technician, and you will truly provide everyone with the best possible service there is.
I mean, it's as simple as that, but simple is not easy, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, cool, man. Well, hey, thank you so much for taking the time to share all of this. I really appreciate it. If someone were to try to get a hold of you, Phil, what would be the best way? How should they reach out to you?
Yeah, the best way to start a journey with me or us is www.boomzeal, Z-E-A-L. BoomZeal.com is where you're going to get to know me. You're going to get to know our core values. You're going to get to know our portfolio companies, including One Tom Plumber here on Long Island, and really the impact that we aim to have on our community and ultimately the world. Just sending out good vibes and being authentic and caring, like you said, how we care, our version of care and my style of leadership. So
Cool, man. I love it. Hey, thank you so much for being on, Phil. Really appreciate it.
good stuff. Thanks, Benjamin.